The Milwaukee Bucks are a powerhouse team. In 2019, the Bucks won 60 games on the back of Giannis Antetokounmpo's ridiculous MVP season, which saw him dominate games at will on both the offensive and defensive side of the floor. Now, following a 60-win season, the Bucks then saw improvement from a number of their starters and bench players, and were on track for a 65-plus win 2020 season prior to the hiatus. And now heading to Orlando, the team to beat in the Eastern Conference are that Bucks team. There are several great teams like the defending champions and the Celtics among others, but Milwaukee have the reigning MVP and the best record in the league, so they are considered the team to beat in the East, and in the entire league among some circles. Now, over the course of the 2020 season, much has been made of their superstar player Giannis Antetokounmpo, with the growing certainty that he will win back-to-back MVPs. The attention is now shifted towards the Defensive Player of the Year award, and whether Giannis can become the first player in 25 years to win both the MVP and DPOY award in the same season, joining Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon as the only players to do so. So with the accolades in mind, the excitement and overall star power of the Greek Freak, it's understandable that he is the player that is often highlighted when there is a conversation about the Bucks. But amongst the incredible season that Giannis is having, Khris Middleton has emerged as not only a great second option, but a genuine star. Now quickly before I get into the video, if you could drop a like right now, that would be much appreciated because it helps me out significantly and it's just easy to do, isn't it? And these videos don't just appear, they take a fair bit of time and effort. But regardless, let's get back into it. But Middleton isn't a star, he plays with Giannis, he plays on a stacked team, he can't lead a team by himself, and he choked in the playoffs. You see, perception is everything in the NBA. How you are perceived by the general public and the NBA community will carry over the course of many years, and sometimes even a full career. So if you were initially perceived to be a bust, then you have to work to overcome that label. Markelle Fultz is a prime example. 2 injury-plagued years in which he only accumulated 33 games and performed far below what was expected of him was enough for people to call him a bust. And now at 21 years old, Markelle has effectively had his first season as an NBA player and put up averages of 12, 5 and 3. Now, if we were to remove the narrative that he was a bust because of those first 2 seasons in which he struggled with injuries, playing time and confidence, and we just saw Fultz as a 21-year-old point guard playing his first full season as an NBA player and averaging 12, 5 and 3 in the process, most people would consider that a pass mark at the very least. But because of that label, because of that perception, it'll take more than just being okay to rewire people's thinking. It'll take being great, and sometimes that's not even enough. So when it comes to the perception of Khris Middleton, he is seen as a second option, a player that would not be where he is if it wasn't for Giannis, just a cog in the Bucks' great system. You compare him to the likes of Russell Westbrook, Donovan Mitchell, Devin Booker. These are all players that are seen as all-star level players, elite scorers, and players that lead their respective teams. So the perception of them as players is far different. But what actually separates these players from Middleton? Is it because they have more IG followers? Is it because they score more points in the most basic sense? Or is it because they are labelled stars and Middleton isn't? And until that changes, people aren't going to see him as the star player he currently is. Now, the first place to start is points. No matter how much more there is to basketball than scoring, that is so often going to be the first part of the argument. So from face value, Middleton is currently averaging 21.1 points per game, which is seen as solid, but clearly pales in comparison to the likes of Booker, Mitchell, Beal, and his other peers. But one thing we do know about the Bucks is they are a ridiculously good team, and with that excellence comes a lot of times in which their star players will often sit out fourth quarters, or even second halves, like when you're 27 points ahead of the Knicks at halftime. So as a result of all these minutes spent on the bench in the fourth quarter, Middleton has only averaged a touch over 30 minutes a game throughout the season, which is considerably lower than other stars in the NBA and the other players he's compared to. So it's only reasonable if a player is spending the fourth quarter sitting on the bench because the job is done, as opposed to players playing 36 to 38 minutes a game. But if we were to even these statistics out, looking at every player's numbers per 36 minutes, the numbers would look significantly more impressive. Now here is the list of players that average more points per 36 minutes than Middleton. It's a very small list, and a list littered with players who many would think are better than the Bucks star. Now here are the players from that same list that have a higher field goal percentage than him, the 2 best bigs in the league, and 2 players who score a considerable amount of their points at the rim, and 2 MVP candidates. So it makes sense, but I'm not done. Here are the players from that same list that shoot a higher percentage from 3. Yeah, no one. Middleton is the 15th best scorer in the league per 36. He's more efficient from the field than everyone bar Giannis and AD, who are big men and considered two of the best 5 or 6 players in the league, and he is considerably more efficient from 3 than everyone else in that top 15. In fact, there is only one person in the NBA that averages more than 15 points per game and shoots a better percentage from 3 than Middleton, and that's the Latvian laser himself, Davis Bertans. So Middleton isn't just one of the best scorers in the league, he is levels above pretty much every other top scorer when it comes to efficiency. But just to emphasize how incredibly efficient Middleton has been throughout this season, here are the list of NBA players to average more than 20 points per game and shoot 50, 40, 90 from the field in a season. Larry Bird, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Durant, and Stephen Curry. That is the entire list. 4 of the greatest players of all time, 4 first ballot Hall of Famers, and Khris Middleton is currently 0.1% away from joining that esteemed company. But many still don't see him as the star he really is. Now we know Giannis Antetokounmpo is a superstar for the Bucks, and everyone on that team is very lucky to be able to play alongside someone of that quality, because what he does for that team on the offensive side of the floor is incredible, but it's probably even more incredible what he does for the team defensively. That's just how good and impactful he is. So with such a superstar at the focal point of the franchise and team, many try to downplay the ability of his supporting cast because of how good he is. And no one has been downplayed more than Khris Middleton. Again, I'm going to hit you with the stats because statistically Middleton has been an undeniable force with Giannis on the floor. That's evident. But he's even better when Giannis is forced to watch from the sidelines. In the 7 games that Middleton has had the full control of the offense, with the Greek Freak out injured, he's had a significant increase in shots, usage rate, and as a result assists, and obviously points per game. But what is so impressive is that he is doing all of this while still shooting close to 49% from the field, 44% from 3, and just under 95% from the line, all while playing under 33 minutes a game. Now compare these numbers to the likes of Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Trae Young, and your favorite guards, and you will find that the unfashionable player from Milwaukee is levels ahead of the field in both scoring and efficiency. Now the thought has always been that Middleton benefits from Giannis, which from a wins and loss and overall efficiency standpoint is likely to hold true over the course of a season. But to think just because he isn't taking 25 shots a game, he isn't capable of being one of the league's most deadly scorers is ludicrous. He recognizes that he is playing alongside one of, if not the best player in the NBA, and he plays accordingly, allowing Giannis to run the show and stepping up when he takes a rest for 5 minutes or 40 minutes. Just to add to this, because it is one of the most common arguments against how good Middleton is as a player, people act as though with Giannis running the offense, Middleton is just a glorified catch and shoot specialist. Now watch any Bucks game, you'll see Khris takes defenders off the dribble. He posts up, he shoots over smaller defenders, and he creates space with great off-ball movement. You think he's just a catch and shoot specialist? Well, here's a list of the best shooters in the league off pull-up jumpers. You have CP3, you have Trae Young, Kawhi Leonard, Kyrie Irving, and a host of other superstar players. Now let's not just look at the same list of players. Let's look at any player that has played at least 25 games and attempted at least 2.5 pull-up jumpers per game over that time. So practically any starting player in the NBA from positions 1 through 3. Pretty lenient criteria, you would think, and the most efficient of all those players, of pretty much any NBA starter from positions 1, 2, 3, yeah, CP3 is the only player in the same stratosphere as Middleton off pull-up jumpers, and he has been one of the best players in the league this season. That just shows that Middleton is far from a catch-and-shoot player that some people would like to pigeonhole him as. Now, I do apologize for the bombardment of stats, but it's the most tangible way to demonstrate just how good he is. It's frightening what he has been doing this season. And to think he isn't one of the best scorers in the league because he's only putting up 20 points a game on the best team in the league is so far from the truth, it's scary. But we are not done yet. There is one last common perception of Middleton that was formed following he and the Bucks' disappointing playoff performances last year. Now, I'm not here to make an abundance of excuses for his performance in last year's playoffs. He had some good games, but there were far too many periods in time throughout pretty much every one of the series he played in which he just went missing. A connotation that has been associated with the likes of Andrew Wiggins is not the same connotation you want when discussing your playoff performances. But let's take it back to the 2018 playoffs, where he performed at an incredibly high level, and a level that I expect him to perform at in this year's playoffs. Averaging the most absurd shooting splits, he genuinely put up numbers that wouldn't look out of place in 2K in my career on rookie difficulty, minus the 90 points a game, but still. In addition to this, he made one of the shots of the 2018 playoffs during this Boston series, hitting a buzzer beater from 30 feet to send the game to OT. So we have seen him perform at an incredible level throughout a 7-game series thus far in his career, and we have seen him struggle at times over the course of last year's playoffs. But with that being said, I wouldn't say he's proven to be a great playoff performer, but he certainly hasn't been the no-show that many people have said he was. And lastly, from a defensive standpoint, it can be easy to forget that Middleton started out as a 3-and-D player before becoming a specialist on offense and focusing less on the defensive side of the floor. This is a particular area where the strength of the Bucks as a team helps him. He is still a good defender, but he just isn't required to defend to the level that he might have been in the past because of all the incredible defenders around him. In saying this is not particularly different to a lot of NBA stars. Countless stars prioritize their offensive impact and just try to stay solid to good on the defensive end of the floor. But come playoff time, you can expect to see more locked in defense and see him turn into that two-way player that he is when he fully focuses on the defensive side of the floor. Something that numerous players considered better than him just aren't capable of doing to the exact same level. The term superstar is very subjective. Some believe there are as little as 3 superstars in the entire league, and some believe there are as many as 10. Is Khris Middleton an NBA superstar? I think currently no, but if he lifts his defensive performance to the level he can in the playoffs, and matches the efficiency he was playing with at this year, on more minutes and more field goal attempts, he would qualify as one of the league's best players, and should be respected as so. There are so many false opinions on how good Khris Middleton is as a player. We saw a number of these when Bleacher Report ranked him as the 10th best player in the league, which based off this season, I struggle to see how you could argue with him being ranked somewhere in the 10 to 12 range. Now I hope we see the same player we saw in the regular season, or the 2018 playoffs, in this year's playoffs, so we can finally see him for the incredible player he is, a bona fide star and one of the league's best players, not just Giannis' running mate. Again, if you enjoyed the video, wanted to drop a like, do all of that good stuff. This takes a while to edit, research, do all of that, so I would appreciate that. Other than that, have a good day. I'll catch you next one.